What's going on, guys? Happy Friday. It is another episode of Access Omaha podcast. We're on number 104 already. Thanks so much for tuning in. Actually, it's been a little bit crazy today, too. We had snow yesterday, 10:45. I took my dog out, a little bit of snow. I'm like, what is going on with this weather? Hopefully we'll get some good weather, though, moving into the weekend. But, guys, I'm very excited. Happy Friday to you. We have an awesome guest today. Who's going to share some info and also a little bit about her story with us. And we're very, very excited. Yeah. Ryan has a personal connection with her as well, so I'll let him give the introduction and we'll kind of go from there.
It's a very personal connection because it involves my wife. So I'm really excited today because not only do we get to hear from our special guest, Dr. Katie Briley, but
Thanks for coming on.
Yes. I get to hear a little bit more about her story, and it affects me personally because she's helped me with my back, and I'll probably get into sharing some of those things later and some of the things she does. But so anyways, I've got connected through Katie through my wife, and my wife refers, for those of you that don't know, is in the medical field as well, and she refers a ton of business to Katie, and a lot of her clients, and obviously Vanessa goes to her as well, would always come back and be like, she's the best, and I'm like, okay, well, I have some issues, so I'm going to go check the best out, and I can honestly say she is the best. So
what'd she do? Tell us what she does.
Well, yes, so she is a chiropractor, but not just your everyday normal chiropractor, and I'm sure we're going to get into some of these things, but one of my favorite things that I enjoyed even every single experience I go into is my experience before with chiropractors wasn't very good. It was one of those where I go in, I get my back cracked, and I'm out. And it's like, okay, well, that was great. I just got a line, but that took 5 minutes, and I sat here for 20, and then I'm out the door. And with Katie, it's a completely different experience, which I love. And so when I went in, one of the first questions she asked is, where's your pain? And so I would point to my pain, and then she'd be like, on a scale from 1 to 10, what is that pain? And every single time I go in there, you're hoping that scale continues to come down.
Right.
But it's just
care.
Yeah, there's the care, the relationship. I could tell that she genuinely cared about how I was feeling and my pain and wanting to fix that pain. And if it wasn't getting fixed, finding a solution to get it fixed. So that's just one of the things there. The other thing that I really liked too, and she probably doesn't even know this, but she asked one of the ladies to come in and be like, hey, can you film me doing this with him to show him? She's like, you need to get a foam roller. And so I get a foam roller, and then she's teaching me and having her person videotape it as she's showing me. And for me, that was super beneficial and huge because now I can go home and I can
rewatch it.
Rewatch it.
Information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So without further ado,
yes.
I'm going to turn this over to Katie and let her kind of share a little bit about herself, her story. So, Katie, tell us kind of just, did you grow up in Omaha? Why Omaha? Where'd you go to school? Why did you choose to do chiropractic? Yes,
okay.
We want to know.
Yes, I grew up in Omaha. I went to Millard South for high school, and I was an athletic trainer there. So I think that's where my passion for just musculoskeletal injuries or pain started. And then I went to UNO for undergrad, and my goal was physical therapy.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to school for. When I was a senior in high school, I got hired on as a chiropractic assistant for West Omaha Chiropractic. So I worked for them for 5 years, and while I worked for them, it was just amazing to see people. And they're an office that they mainly just adjust, but just to see people come in, crawl in and walk out. It was just awesome. So I was still a little undecided in undergrad, and I shadowed a physical therapist on Fridays for 6 months, and I just made the decision, I just want to be a chiropractor. So I went to Cleveland Chiropractic College in Kansas City, and that's an additional 4 years. And then I always was going to come back to Omaha to practice. And I ended up at Performance. Dr. Janet House, so that we were a group practice, but I'm an independent contractor within the office, so we're all partners, but we all work kind of separate. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Dr. Howie, I met her. I ran into her. Well, first of all, she was my high jump coach in high school. High school when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And then I ran into her, I think in undergrad, and she gave me her business card, and I had no idea she was a chiropractor. I thought she actually was a physical therapist, but I went back and looked at her card, and when I was in undergrad or in chiropractic school, I would shadow as many chiropractors as I could, just to
Soaking
see
up the
how I
knowledge,
could, how I wanted to practice.
Right.
And I went and shadowed her, and they did this awesome technique called active release technique, or ART. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm gonna do. This is amazing. This people get better faster. And so I did my internship with them, and I've been there for 7 years.
Wow,
So-
crazy.
So walk us through like ART.
Yeah.
Said.
I was
So,
just
like,
gonna, I was gonna drop that.
What does
too.
that
No idea a little
mean?
bit
What
about
types of therapy do you do with that? Like,
Right. So active release is basically my foundation where I started, other than the adjustments, but it's a musculoskeletal technique, soft tissue based technique.
Yeah.
So what I'm finding and what we're taught to do is to find like muscle adhesions, scar tissue, or trigger points in the muscles. And it's basically an active stretch with specific pressure from us to release.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
actively releasing that tissue.
Mhm.
So muscle pain, a lot of it comes from lack of oxygen or blood flow to the tissue. We're trying to bring that back to that tissue with that active stretch. So
Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So I'm gonna go back to my experience because here I am. I'm coming in and I'm expecting to like just lay down on my stomach, get my back cracked,
Do
whatever.
the standard thing.
Katie's like, why don't you come sit over here? And she's like, tell me again, like, where's this pain? She starts moving up and down. Like, for me, it was like my left,
yeah,
like
left trap.
left trap
leg.
area, yeah. And then she's working in this like where my left shoulder blade is, and she's like, yeah, this is not good. Like, there's a lot of tension here, blah blah blah. And she's like, so we're gonna try a couple things, you know. And I'm like, okay. And so right away she starts like massaging / working
the
that
active
area.
release, yeah.
So that's the active release, which I was like, man, this is okay. This is a new experience. This is good. This feels great. And then she starts moving into, you know, a lot of these stretches and things like that, which I'm like, this is even better. Okay, I like this. And then obviously we go through like the adjustment and the things like that. But then she gets out this metal thing. And
Yikes.
and I was like, wait, what's that? She's like, okay, so I'm gonna let you explain this.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I tell you what, this thing does magic.
So another technique that we do is called Graston therapy or Graston technique. So there's specific tools for specific areas of the body, but so we have our skin, and then we have fascia, and then we have muscle. Well, sometimes that fascia can get bound up and tight as well, so that tool kind of breaks up those fascial adhesions, then allows us to stretch the muscle a little bit better. So it's just another soft tissue therapy that we do.
Do not use a butter knife.
Yeah.
Don't use
use
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy to me. There's so many different layers of like what you do and your expertise. I'm kind of with Ryan. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday. I'm one of these guys who, you know, I've gone off and on to chiro my whole life, right? My mom had me go all the time. Shout out, Mom. To you know, to like Nannins or whatever it was, or in Blair, and do our, you know, chiro once a week or something like that, or once a month when I was a kid. And I'm always one of these guys who's like, oh, it's this hooey art form, right? Or it's this hooey medicine that doesn't really do anything for me. And even later in life, you know, oh, my back, I'm sore, whatever. People are like, go see the chiro. I'm like, yeah, really? Does it really do anything for you? And I'd go have these experiences where, you know, my optics were, and I think a lot of people kind of think this way, is it's like, I go in there, you know, like Ryan, I'm just kind of a number. Okay, we lay you down, we crack you. $50 or $100 later, and then the next day or the 2 days later, I'm sore. I'm like, wait a minute, I just paid $100. I feel worse than what I did before, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a lot of what you're talking about is bringing these new techniques, bringing this new kind of way to do things for people, or look for the sources of their pain rather than just, oh, hey, we're going to crack you and readjust you. Everybody knows that part of the science, right? And I think that's kind of looking towards these other things, ART and things like that can really get to the root of people's issues and helping them. So I'm very intrigued about that a little bit. I might even have to come see you myself.
I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, but you also do, so Ryan was telling me one of the things that really piqued my interest is he's telling me about some other stuff you're doing, like different techniques like needling and things like that. And I'm like, needling? What is that? What are you talking about? So speak into that a little bit about some of the other techniques that you guys use to really help your clients.
So needling is taking dry needles, or they're acupuncture needles, or they're like acupuncture needles, but the technique's completely different, and I'll go into that. But it's for the same purpose. Okay. So we have like 6 layers of back tissue like that we have to get through, and if some of those like deep muscles is what's causing your pain, those needles will help me get that better. So what we're again doing is trying to break up those muscle adhesions, trigger points, scar tissue in the muscles, and bring blood flow and oxygen to that tissue.
Interesting.
So I'll just elaborate on why it's different than acupuncture.
Yep.
So acupuncture, and I'm not an acupuncturist and I'm not an expert, but we use the same tool. Acupuncture stays a little bit more superficial, and I think they study meridians or energy pathways, so I think they typically only go through like the dermis or like the skin. They're not, their goal might be a little bit different. Ours is, I'm finding that muscle adhesion, I'm putting that needle there, and I'm gonna release that deep tension. Exactly, go right through the muscle belly. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, so with my trap, she's like, okay, I'm gonna grab and pinch your trap here, and you might feel a little pinch. And I'm actually feeling her holding my trap, and then the needle goes in. I'm like, is she ever gonna stick the needle in? And she's like, we're in. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's like you turn it up a little bit, and you get like this little sensation of like this electrolyte or electrode, like.
What Ryan's talking about is
using the right
no,
words.
you're good. I use a little muscle stim to kind of stimulate the muscle to move as well. So the needle's in, and then we use some stuff.
So it's connected to like a lead or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you do one at a time, or you're like, if I look at Ryan, he's looking like
pinhead
back over here or something, or no?
No.
Yeah.
There's go ahead.
It depends on the area, but I'll probably have 4 to 6 needles depending on the area at a time. If I'm doing some other part of the body, sometimes it only accounts for 1 needle at a time.
Okay. Wow.
So
interesting.
It can vary.
I've had multiple needles in before, and it feels amazing.
Does it?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of needles, by the way.
Yeah,
so I don't like shots. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like looking at someone stick a needle in me. So it's always nice when it goes in my back and I can't see it. But again, it's one of those things where I was like, I don't even feel her really putting the needle in. All I feel is like when you turn that up, and I'm like, oh man, this feels great because it's starting to relax my muscle. There's been times where Katie comes back in, she's like, hey, how do you feel? And I'm like, huh? I'm like almost passed out, sleeping. I'm like, I think I almost took like a nap. And she's like, well, that's good. That's good. It's relaxing your muscles.
Ryan, wake up. You're done. Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's funny. Interesting. Well, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that a little bit and talking about those things, because I think it's really interesting. And I think a lot of people are, like I said, are kind of like me, the way that even you thought initially about chiro, and don't really know what benefits it actually can have for them. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of those things? Like, why do you think in your profession that chiro is so important, and how do you, I guess, speaking to the experiences of what your thoughts are and how it can improve people's lives, maybe give us some stories about some testimonials of people you have helped who maybe thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this, coming in, crawling, walking out kind of story.
So there's a couple different philosophies of chiropractic. There's the very the body that made the body heals the body type, where they it's more philosophical, I guess, where you're subluxated, and we're gonna put your bone back into place, okay? And I did study that in school, but I always thought that there was that missing link. And I'm very much more evidence-based and research-based when it comes to like chiropractic and then soft tissue therapy, and that's why I went into ART and Graston and dry needling. So for me, like we're truly like treating musculoskeletal pain. So I think people do need to get adjusted and use it as preventative if you have a desk job or you're doing something that's, you know, overuse, or you're in sports, or you're a CrossFit athlete who does repetitive heavy movement, or, you know, those are just some examples. But truly what I'm trying to do for people is get them out of pain, right? So I don't tell Ryan, like, you need to come back every week for the rest of your life. Like, I truly want Ryan to feel better. And if we need to maintain and prevent, like, that's up to him if he wants to go that route. What else did you ask me? Did that answer the question?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, why you think it's important, what uses it has to help improve people's lives. So you kind of touched on that a little bit. But one of the other things I'm curious of is, you know, if you have any stories that you'd be willing to share with us of people who've, you know, maybe somebody who came in and, you know, they're, I got this thing, I've had this pain for 15 years or whatever it is, and, you know, through chiro they're able to see a lot of relief or actually just enjoy a better quality of life.
Yeah, I've had lots of people do that, you know,
Tell
and I
us.
think the most exciting thing is the time frame, you know, like telling somebody you have to come back to me 3 times a week for 4 weeks, or, you know, you're getting 12 visits in a month time. Like, I can tell someone, like, we're gonna try this 4 to 6 times. Like, if you're not feeling any different by the third visit, like, we'll revisit some things.
Sure.
We'll either just change things here, or maybe I'm not the fit for you.
Right.
So, I mean, certain examples would be like just somebody who comes in and can't turn their neck. Like, I'm like, I will adjust, I will do ART, okay, turn your neck. Oh, can't do it, okay, let's do some needles. Can you move your neck better now? Yes. Okay, let's go home
So
with
you're
this.
looking for the tangible benefit.
Yeah, like, I want to see a change in that visit, in that tissue.
Wow.
So, I mean, I can tell you people will walk out that day feeling better.
Wow,
or
that's
somewhat
crazy.
better. You know, and an acute injury, it's a lot faster. Somebody who's 60, 65, it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool.
And I think that goes back to, you know, the conversation that we were having when I was telling you about my experience with Katie, and I remember Levi just looking at me like, you mean you felt better like in that short amount of time? And I'm like, bro, it was like night and day.
Well, it's because, you know, speaking back to my comments before, you live your life based on your own experience, right? We all do. So with that, my experience with chiro has always been, I don't want to say bad, but it's always been something that I didn't find a tangible benefit in.
Right.
So for me, there was no point. I was like, I don't need that in my life. I have these other things, or I'm active, or I exercise, or I do this, I'm okay, right? And I think a lot of us go through kind of our day-to-day with that mantra. So hearing your story, and then, you know, dealing with my own soreness and things like that, and then of course speaking into my spouse's experience with her back that I was sharing with you before we went live, those things are powerful to me. So I'm like, man, if there's something that I could do or someone could do, come see you, and then right away they feel better, or shortly after they feel better, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That can be very powerful in somebody's life.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Well, and I think I definitely hold the patient accountable as well. Like, you have to do your work too, so that you're not coming into me, you know what I mean, like foam rolling or doing this exercise that I think will help. You know,
I laugh because
have you been doing your homework?
You've been foam rolling,
I
right?
have, and my wife can attest to that.
Okay.
But what's funny is I remember it's probably like our 3rd visit or something, and you're like, you should get a foam roller, and here's a couple things that you could start doing to like work on that. And I'm like, okay. So immediately I leave, I go to Target, and I'm getting the foam roller that you recommended. So I'm like, oh, well, here's some for like $35, but here's the ones that, oh crap, this is gonna be like $70 for this foam roller. So I go get this $70 foam roller, and I'm coming home, and Vanessa's like, what's that? I'm like, it's foam roller.
She sees the
My
Amazon
chiropractor
box.
told me I needed to start doing exercises, and she's like, okay. And literally now it's funny because
She's
the
like,
other night
did you do your exercise?
I'm up in my bedroom and I'm rolling out, you know, before I go to bed, and And now it's funny because my kids are watching me do it, and they're like, "Can we try it?"
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they think
"Yeah,
it's
you can
fun."
try it." And then Vanessa's like sparking interest, where she's like, "Does that really work?" And I'm like, "Well, it's working for me. You know, I can't speak for you." But I was like, I'm just doing what my chiropractor told me to do, okay? So I'm doing my homework. And I was like, you as a doctor should understand that when people are taking your advice, they're coming home, and then they're actually seeing results too of taking the initiative to be like, that's one thing that I can do to try to help myself or prevent this from getting worse or whatever the case is. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've been seeing you 2 months?
Yeah.
Like,
about right.
so in 2 months, like I've learned so much in just the 10 years that I've seen a chiropractor, where now I'm like, I got taught none of this stuff.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
Shout out to Katie Brown.
Yeah, awesome. That kind of comes into my next question. Something I'm curious about too is like, if you know, going back, and I know you touched on this a little bit before, but I want to see if we can dive a little bit deeper into it. You know, at what point when you're going through school, you're meeting all these people, you're looking for all these kind of different types of therapy, chiropractic, things like that. At what point for you, I know you mentioned a little bit, but were you like, man, this is it? Like, that's what I want to do with my life. That's how I want to help people. What was that light bulb moment to you where you're like, you know, this person's experience or your experience in dealing with the therapy or learning about the therapy, where was that moment where you're just like, man, this is it? Like, this is the thing that I want?
I think it was the multiple offices that I shadowed. I mean, every technique that's out there, I probably shadowed or visited with those doctors. And the day that I shadowed Dr. Howie in their office and saw the active release, she said, "You need to go see my friend." And I do?
What? Yeah.
Just go see, and I won't say his name, but I'm like, just go see my friend. And I did, and I was like, this is not how I want to practice. And I think that she did that. Just
she knew.
She knew, like,
Yeah.
we are completely different, and
Right.
this is how you need to decide like how you want to practice. And so that was the light bulb moment for me. But I always felt that there was that missing link. Like, you can't just adjust. You can't.
Right.
What are you physically changing? Like, yes, you are creating movement in the spine, but all of the muscles attached to the spine, right? So there was always that missing link, and that's when I got into ART, and we also, there were all of this stuff like active release, dry needling, Graston was stuff that I took outside of chiropractic school.
Oh, wow.
So like, you don't learn that stuff in school.
Wow.
This is extracurricular, right?
Yeah.
So
different certifications.
different certifications, different seminars. I was part of a group that we would meet at lunchtimes. I remember it was called Motion Palpation Institute, and I took a lot of their courses as well, and that was more just manual manipulation or feeling of the spine. But I mean, all of that was all extra. But yeah, my light bulb moment was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. That's very cool. So almost learning what the experience was that you wanted for yourself through bad experience, right? Or just seeing something that you were maybe adverse to, a certain type of way that things are being done, and just realizing, wow, here's this other better way that I can do this, and that's the way that I want to move forward.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I guess I should say, like, I'm not dogging on
Sure,
other
sure.
chiropractors,
Yeah.
you know, just
Right.
that's the way they chose to practice. I just, this is that, I just wanted to do more.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's like all of us, when I got into real estate, like, I'm shadowing other people that are leading different teams, and then when I got into real estate, and then I was getting mentored and shadowed by this guy. Shout out to JD Europe, because he's awesome and amazing. But then when it was time for me to, I wanted to go off on my own, I wanted to start my own team, like, there were things that I learned from that team that I'm like, that's what I'm going to implement these things. And then there were things that I didn't have on that team that I saw that other teams had.
Right.
But I'm like, I want to make sure that if I bring anybody on my team, they're going to have this. So I think there's a part of every single experience that we're going through, even in life, where we're like, okay, yeah, that's cool, I could apply that to something that I want to do. Or that's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like that's going to make a difference, not only in my life, but in others' lives as well.
Right.
And then running with that, right?
Right.
So I don't think we're viewing that at all like that.
No.
I think it's just, you know, you find your style
You
and
do.
you find
Yeah.
what you're good at and
Yeah.
what you love to do, and you do it.
Yep. And it's that forward-thinking mentality, I think,
Yeah.
that a lot of times sets someone like yourself apart,
Mhm.
right? It allows us to be like, man, this is cool. Ryan has this great experience. We want to hear you share it, right? We want to hear you share your story, which, by the way, thank you so much for talking
Yeah,
to us and
absolutely.
taking the time, because I think it is powerful. And I think a lot of people would benefit from learning some of this stuff and maybe even realizing, hey, there are some different styles of chiro, there's some different styles of therapy. If you're someone who's suffering from pain, or you're someone who's doing something regularly
Yeah.
that you feel, man, I'm feeling soreness, or I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that, you know, obviously we want to get you connected with Dr. Katie here to try to figure out how you might be able to solve some of those issues.
Yeah.
So
I've got one last question for you.
Okay.
It's kind of our,
this is the deep one.
this is the deep question. So as you think about the impact that you want to make in the community here in Omaha, in your industry, and as you think about the legacy that you want to leave behind, right? Like, so if, you know, 30, 40 years down the road, you look back and people are sharing stories about their experience with you and the legacy you've left behind, what do you want people to know or say about you and what you did for them and how that impacted our city and our community here in Omaha?
Yeah.
That was deep, sorry.
That was deep.
Layered.
Well, I just, you know, I just want people to remember that I gave them their life back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there are people that have come in and they aren't able to maybe sit at their kid's ball game, or can't do the simplest task, like bending down to pick their baby up out of the crib, or, you know, I can't think of other examples right now. We can't run the marathon that they've been planning to do. So, like, I want that to be embedded in their, you know, I went to Dr. Briley, she got me
Yes.
better, I got
Yeah.
my life back. And they've been able to maintain that as well. I think the biggest compliment for me is, like, I'll see somebody and then they'll be on my schedule like 2
Yeah.
years later.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't remember that person. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
been 2 years, but
Right.
they've kept
They remember, yeah.
they've kept my information. They you know, because you guys even said, like,
Yeah.
that people, like, but that's the biggest and best compliment, is that you're still gonna come back to me for a totally different issue
Right.
because I made you better.
Wow. Cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Love
that
it.
is awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, at least from what I've heard of their experiences, Ryan's experience with you. I'm sure there's a ton of people who feel that way about you. So thanks so much again for coming on. We really appreciate it. Tell our audience how they can get connected with you, because we're very excited to have you on, and we want people to be able to, you know, get connected with you, come see you if they need to.
Absolutely, you better do it.
Yes.
Do.
So our clinic is Performance Chiropractic. We're on 132nd and L Street, basically.
Okay.
The best way to call is to call the office for an appointment. So
Okay.
402-896-2496 is the phone number. Our website is Omaha Performance Chiro, right?
That's
You should
okay.
know that.
Here's
Dot
what
com.
we'll do.
Yes,
we'll put that below.
OmahaPerformanceChiro.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put that below, so
Pretty sure
we'll make a
that's
comment of it. We'll make sure it's the right one.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely make sure people can connect it. Do you have,
We have a Facebook page as
there we
well.
go, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, social
Social
media
media.
platform
Cool.
that
Cool.
they can connect with?
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Good stuff. You guys, thanks so much for coming on, Dr. Katie Briley. Really appreciate it. You guys, we hope you got something out of this. Hope you tuned in. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments down below, of course. Get yourself connected with Dr. Katie. Make yourself feel a lot better into this new year. I know we're getting into summer here, so you want to be able to go out, play golf, do some of that fun stuff. This is the person that you need to see.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Friday.